Hey guys, SimmersDim Gaming here, and yes, it's now official, we are getting Resident Evil 3 Remake. I am so excited, I've watched the trailer like 4 million times, and with that said, like I did with Resident Evil 2 Remake, I'm going to be breaking things down for you whenever we get screenshots, trailers, gameplay, etc. This video is about the trailer that we got at the Sony State of Play. But enough talking, let's get into it. I'm going to show you a series of screenshots and I'm going to break them down and give you my opinions and thoughts on what we saw. So firstly, let's go over the main thing, which is the characters. So first off, we have our first look at the main character, Jill Valentine. I'm really pleased with this design choice. I think it makes a lot more sense, just because realistically, who's going to wear a miniskirt and a boob top in a zombie apocalypse? Her outfit makes more sense, and at this point, it is a couple of months after the mansion incident, so Jill's going to have brushed up on her survival skills even more. So it's really cool to see a more realistic Jill. Let's move on to Carlos. His new look is a hot topic among the Resident Evil pages. I personally am really liking this. He looks really cool. He looks more how I always wanted Carlos to look and how I would have imagined him to look if they remade the game. And luckily for me and some other people, this is what he looks like. He looks really cool. I think he's going to stand out a lot more. I love the uniform, the new UBCS uniform. It's really cool. So I can't wait to see more of Carlos. Hopefully we also get to play as him for a little bit longer than just the hospital scene. Fingers crossed on that one. Let's quickly move on to the supporting characters. So we have returning Mikhail, Nikolai, Murphy, and Terrell. It's really cool to see these guys. Obviously you don't see Murphy and Terrell for very long, but they are still in it and it's cool to see them in the trailer. Obviously we have Mikhail and Nikolai, the other two members of Carlos's team. What's interesting here, as you can see, Mikhail doesn't look hurt like he is when you meet him in Resident Evil 3, so maybe he'll have a more prominent role. And as you can see as well in the background of Terrell's screenshot, you can see Carlos in the background. Previously in the original game, you don't actually see them together until the cutscene where Terrell briefly is alive and then he gets killed by Nikolai. So that's quite interesting. That's another little change by the looks of things. Now let's move on. I've saved the best support character for last. Old chick in the heart himself, Brad Vickers. Looks exactly how I wanted him to be. No different at all. And to be honest, in Resident Evil 2 Remake there is a little Easter egg that he's gonna look like this in the poster on the B scenario wall in the little starting area. So I kind of knew this was what Brad was going to look like. He does seem to have a little bit more sassiness to him and a little bit more character development, because obviously he only gets a couple of lines and meets his end to Nemesis. I have a feeling he's still going to die this way, however I think they're going to give him a few more lines and he's going to help Jill out a little bit through the destruction. Obviously we see Nemesis chasing Jill when Jill's running away in first person, which is really cool. I'm not going to play it now because everyone's obviously seen that, and it was really cool, and I can't wait to experience the fear of Nemesis chasing us through Raccoon City again. On the subject of Raccoon City, let's get into locations. Obviously Resident Evil 3 is very well known for showing off more of Raccoon City than its Resident Evil 2 counterpart, and believe me when I say the trailer does not disappoint. You get to see loads of the actual streets of Raccoon City and it looks like a total apocalyptic war zone, which is very reminiscent of the third game, and that was one of my favourite parts of the trailer, that we actually still get to run around the remains of Raccoon City fighting off hordes of the dead. And what's interesting as well, especially when you see Jill and Brad interacting with each other, you see a lot more civilians running around, so that's more interesting. It's not just the undead, the citizens are still there and not all of them have turned. Some of the iconic locations have returned. As you can see in this screenshot, it's actually Jill's apartment where she starts off in the epilogue. So that's quite interesting, but they've expanded on that a little bit because you essentially just see it on a moving image rather than in actual gameplay. Also, you get to see little bits of the tram or train car where you meet Mikhail and Nikolai for the first time. That's pretty interesting. I want to know if it's still going to be the same important part of the game where you have to go and get all the parts, and then make it work and then head to the clock tower area. So that's going to be really interesting if they keep that the same or if they change it. One thing I want to note as well, in this screenshot coming up now, you can see Jill running towards a helicopter. It looks like it's on top of a parking structure. This can't be the end of the game because it's not in the Dead Factory. So this looks like it's another new part that's been added. Maybe Jill tries to get on a helicopter early in the game, maybe it's piloted by Brad. That would be quite interesting if Nemesis then takes down the helicopter with Brad in it, instead of Brad getting a tentacle through the face. Obviously that's a total speculation and I don't think that's going to happen, but it is quite interesting to note who's going to be in that helicopter. It can't be Barry at the end of the game like it is in the original because it's not at the Dead Factory, like I said, simple. I do think Brad is going to be in a helicopter because he is a helicopter pilot, so it would make sense for him to try and get a helicopter and get him and Jill the hell out of there. Now, these are some of the main things I picked up on the trailer. Let me know what you picked up on and what you're excited to see. Personally, I hope Carlos has a bigger role because he's one of my favourite characters. And considering that the pre-order bonus is a classic costume for Jill and Carlos, I do feel like he's going to have a bigger role than just the hospital area. But again, that is pure speculation. Let me know if you like this breakdown, guys. Let me know if you want me to cover more. I'm planning on covering the weapons that Jill and Carlos are going to use when we get more screenshots and gameplay with them. So stay tuned for that. And as always, this is Dim Gaming, and I'll see you in the next one.